Jalen Hurts was on another planet last night against what I think is a pretty good defense. Eagles' offensive line was great. They ran the ball well. You couldn't ask for a better first half. Tone, it's a Victory Tuesday, my friend. A good morning, NFC East. Tone, I gotta be honest with you. I'm on like maybe 20 minutes of sleep. It's been one of those nights already, my friend. How you doing?
Oh man, I'm doing good. I'm probably working off of maybe 2 hours of sleep myself. It was a big day last night. Well, big game last night. Huge night for everybody. I'm just excited to talk football. I'm excited to talk Jalen Hurts. I'm excited to talk these Eagles. John, excuse me, Jeff. Say my days are running together, right? My shows are running together. I don't have John until 8 a.m. So Jeff, I need to know what's on your mind, man. Like this is a very interesting Victory Tuesday.
Jalen Hurts is a franchise quarterback. That's what's on my mind. I mean, we want overreactions here. That was an unbelievable performance from QB1 last night. Just completed his first, 11, 12 passes. He was just – Jalen Hurts was on another planet last night against what I think is a pretty good defense. Eagles' offensive line was great. They ran the ball well. You couldn't ask for a better – first half from that football team on the offensive side of the ball. And then the defense was just as dominant in the second half as the first half. But as the offense was in the first half, but I got to give Jalen Hurts all the credit in the world last night for all his doubters. They were really quiet.
Yeah, he was wheeling and dealing last night. And, I watched the game from beginning, middle, and end. We were doing post-production for the JAKIB Sports, the Pond League Hockey post-game show where you can find at Ocean Casino Resort. We were covering the game from there. I'm sitting next to guys like Seth Joyner, Derek Gunn, Mike Missinelli. These guys are all breaking down this game, and the eye test doesn't lie. He was delivering the pill all over the field. The Philadelphia Eagles were taking advantage of the Vikings on all three levels: the deep ball, the intermediate, the short game, outside the numbers, inside the numbers. And what makes it even more special, Jeff, he was wheeling and dealing to the whole party. You know what I'm saying? He was walking around Jalen Hurts was just working the room. Hey, listen, you get an hors d'oeuvre. You get an hors d'oeuvre. We're feeding everybody. Everyone gets a plate. It was just so exciting. You can hear it in my voice, just being able to see this kid prove so many people wrong. And granted, it was one game, right? But what people were waiting for, Jeff, people were waiting for him to defeat a quality opponent with quality players across from him. And he came out and did it like he's been doing it for years.
But he didn't just beat them, Tone. He demolished them.
Yeah.
That's the thing. If someone had told me last night Jalen Hurts is going to have nearly 400 yards of total offense, 300 of which were in the first half, I would have said, okay, the Eagles are on the roll, and they did to an extent. It was only 24-7. Then I love what Jalen Hurts said after the game. Man, we left a lot of money on the table, and he's right. They did. And that second half, I didn't think they got conservative at all. I just think the Vikings made enough defensive adjustments. And, look, Hurts' lone turnover should have been caught by Kenny Gainwell. The penalties were bad last night. I get it. I don't want to get too much in the negative, but in the first half, just everything went right for that football team. A.J. Brown was open the whole time. Devonta Smith was open the whole time. The Quez Watkins touchdown, I saw him go by. I'm like, that's a touchdown. All Hurts had to do was see him. He threw two passes of 20 air yards last night, and then one of them was that Quez touchdown. I'll tell you what, Tone, the link was absolutely rocking when they saw Watkins get open like he did.
Oh, man. You know what's so interesting? I'm looking at the pass breakdown, right? I'm looking at the stats, the box score, and A.J. Brown led the team with 8 targets. Devontae Smith right behind him, 7 targets. Dallas Goedert, 6 targets. And you see 2 targets between Quez Watkins and Zach Pascal. Kenny Gainwell had 2 targets. Miles Sanders had 3 targets. Boston Scott had 1 target. In that opening drive, Jalen Hurts hit, I believe, 4 to 5 different players. And I think one got called back because of a penalty, but he hit about 4 to 5 different players on the opening drive. That was the story of the night for me. The fact that he was able to get it done and he trusted every single one of his teammates.
Yeah, I agree. And one thing I really liked about this whole offensive explosion tone. Like you said, everybody was getting targeted early. They took care of the Devonta Smith no catch storyline right away. I mean, call a pass right off the bat. A.J. Brown was getting open, and look, you could tell the Vikings were trying to take away deep pass from A.J. Brown. That's fine. I think the Eagles showed they had a bunch of weapons. And one thing I like too about this running game, Miles Sanders, do you realize he averaged 4.9 yards per carry last night? Had a quiet 17 carries for 80 yards.
Wow. Can you repeat that stat one more time, Jeff? I want to make sure I heard you right.
17 carries, 80 yards, 4.9 yards per carry. It was a quiet night for Miles Sanders, but it wasn't. Like, he had a really good game. And I think maybe because we were all caught up in Jalen Hurts running the football and doing like he did. And look, I just got to say this to him. I don't think Jalen Hurts cares if he carries the ball a lot or not. What they're doing is they're finding different ways to beat you every single week. And that's the makings of a really good team.
Yeah, absolutely. And, again, this was a big test. I'm looking at the way we played the Detroit Lions, and we were able to put up points against them. And we saw what the Detroit Lions did against the Washington Commanders. So that kind of validates that victory a little bit more. On top of that, when you think about the way the Eagles responded to the run game, last week they allowed nearly 200 rushing yards, if I'm not mistaken. This week they allowed, I believe, less than 60 rushing yards. They allowed a grand total of 62 rushing yards between Jalen Reagor, Dalvin Cook, Kirk Cousins, and Alexander Madison. Dalvin Cook only had 6 carries. The Minnesota Vikings gave up on the run relatively early, which was pretty shocking to me.
Midway through the fourth quarter, Jalen Reagor was the Vikings' leading rusher.
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
17-yard run. That was it, and it was on the reverse, which is a really nice play. I do gotta give the Vikings some credit. Look, we all know who Jalen Reagor is. They did their best to try to get him involved in the game, and he was the only one who made an impact play. Him and Irv Smith early in that game. But I gotta get into this whole Kirk Cousins thing. So, I mean, I know Kirk Cousins puts up a lot of good numbers, but there's a reason why Kirk Cousins is Kirk Cousins. You saw that last night. 3 times they were in the red zone. 3 times the Vikings had a chance to get back in this game, and Kirk Cousins throws 3 interceptions. To me, that is unacceptable.
It's very acceptable for the Eagles, right? But when you think about Kirk Cousins' history, he's been trying to shake it. And he's been doing well for the past 2 years, winning on Monday night. But he has a terrible record on Monday night. I think he's like 2-10. 2-10. That's not a random stat. That's not by accident. He cannot pull it off when the lights are the brightest, and that's been the story of his career. His numbers are far from pedestrian, right? His numbers are far from pedestrian. But when you look at his record, when you look at the quality of his victories, he can't get it done when it matters most. And he's been with the Minnesota Vikings for several years now. And there was a span where they had a defense. There was a couple years where they didn't. But the offense has always been able to put up numbers. And I believe sometimes good offense needs to overcome bad defense. And he's never been able to get it done in the grand scheme of things. Granted, his numbers, far from pedestrian. But the quarterback himself, pedestrian.
Yeah, and to me, this is the whole Kirk Cousins thing. Look, Darius Slay, great game. Absolutely great game. I can't overstate the fact how well he played. I mean, he was covered Justin Jefferson 5 times last night. He was the primary defender against Jefferson. Jefferson had one catch for, I think it was 5 yards, 2 interceptions. So, look, I'm trying to remember the pass rate. Oh, 0. It was a 0 pass rate. I wrote the story on this last night. Darius Slay was an all-pro last night. He does not get the respect he deserves amongst the media of how good he is. Everybody likes to talk about best cornerbacks in the game. You always hear Jalen Ramsey, guys like that, right? It's 7 in the morning. I'm having trouble thinking who the best cornerbacks are. But after last night on the primetime stage, Darius Slay deserves to be in that conversation. And he's right. He gets it amongst his peers. But the media does not give him that respect. He's always the forgotten man, whether he was in Detroit and now in Philadelphia. Now that you got James Bradberry opposite of you, he is the guy, Tone. Darius Slay is getting the credit he deserves. He is an all-pro. He's a great player. And I think it's time that he gets that respect amongst the media. It's long past overdue, Tone. Long past overdue.
Well, here's the thing. When it comes to the cornerback position, these guys stake their claim off of who they were able to limit, right? These guys collect tombstones in their yards. Jalen Ramsey, he's a top corner. The top corner for the Bills, I forget his name. Is it Tre'Davious White or something like that?
Yeah, Tre'Davious White.
Who else? You have J.C. Jackson.
AJ Terrell.
AJ Terrell, there are top corners in this league, and I know I'm forgetting a handful, right? But I digress. Darius Slay got one of the most valuable bodies in his morgue last night. He put Justin. Listen, this is not conjecture. This is not an over-exaggeration. This is not hearsay. This is fact. Darius Slay put Justin Jefferson on the milk carton. Where was he? He was non-existent. He was not even on this planet. Darius Slay had this man in jail. He had him in Alcatraz. He had him in Rikers. He had him in Sing Sing, Jeff. Justin Jefferson was not a factor last night. Not many teams can say, not many corners. And I'm excited about this, Jeff, because this is so huge for Darius Slay's resume. This is so huge for his career, because I feel like Darius Slay has not been given the respect he deserves. I know he gets the respect from his peers, but I'm talking about on the ground, in the grand scheme of things. He hasn't gotten the respect he deserves. Darius Slay is arguably a top 5 corner. Matter of fact, he's a top 5 corner in this NFL right now.
After last night, that's not a hot take, Tone. I mean, if you probably said that yesterday, this would have blown up all over the place. We're like, what's Tone DeShields talking about? No, after last night, not too many people shut down Justin Jefferson in this league. The last time Justin Jefferson was shot down was probably week 1 of his rookie year, because he wasn't getting the ball yet. He wasn't Justin Jefferson yet. That didn't come to week 3. But, yeah, Justin Jefferson, I thought he was going to get his last night. I thought he was going to get a lot of yards, maybe get a touchdown in there, just because of the way the Eagles play defense. And no, Jonathan Gannon dialed up the pressure. Again, we said this yesterday. The Vikings offensive line was not good, especially on the interior. They're fine at the tackle position, but Fletcher Cox, again, found the youth last night. 4 pressures, sack, 3 hurries. He looked like the Fletcher Cox of old. Javon Hargrave had a solid game. He got pressure. Josh Sweat had 5 pressures and a sack last night. The Eagles' defensive line lived up to what we thought they were going to be in training camp, what we thought they were going to be this offseason. I honestly can't find a poor effort from anybody on that defense last night. When you hold an NFL team in this day and age to 7 points with Kirk Cousins, with Justin Jefferson, with Adam Thielen, who, by the way, I forgot played last night.
Oh, my God. Yeah, he was – come on, man. I never thought I would say this. And Mike Missinelli said something really funny. He said, thank you, Adam Thielen, for not showing up. But is he done? Like, where is he? Like did he mail it in? Is he checked out? I don't know, man. Adam Thielen, James Bradberry did his job last night. Everyone in pass coverage. This is 2 weeks in a row where the pass coverage has been pretty decent. Today they took it to another level. TJ Edwards got it on the action. You know what I'm saying? He was keeping up with tight ends last night. Now, granted, I don't want him doing that regularly, but it just seemed like the Eagles were flying to the ball last night. They were tackling significantly better. And that kind of just makes last week look like early season jitters, being in a rough environment, an extension of the preseason. I have a feeling this is going to be this is closer to the true Eagles that we're going to see, and it's only going to get better. That team has still so much to clean up from last night.
I think Eagles defense, and maybe this is a message from John McGann down, hey, look, we had 16 missed tackles last week. Let's clean that up, and we'll see how good we actually are. Because I think that was the source of their problems. And I don't think Gannon really dialed up that many blitzes last night. I think he sent the pressure when he had to, especially in the red zone. That was the difference in the game, the red zone defense. I mean, Darius Slay getting an interception, 2 interceptions. Vontae Max getting that interception. making Kirk Cousins feel below average. And look, as you said earlier, Tone, 2-10 record on Monday Night Football. The 167 win percentage is the worst for any quarterback with at least 10 starts in Monday Night Football history. And Darius Slay made this team pay. Like, the Eagles refused to let the Vikings beat them. And the Vikings didn't get a lot of yards overall in the game. Like, I think there was a point in this game where Jalen Hurts had 301 total yards and the Minnesota Vikings had 92. I mean, that's just how good the Eagles played in the first half. And I agree with the Eagles. I think they know they're a really good team, Tone. I really do. I think the Eagles know they're a very good team that have a lot of holes to fix. And they got a challenge this week, and we'll get to that later in the week. But if we're going off just reacting from last night, the Eagles made a statement to the NFC that they're one of the better teams.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. And we have our guy Mike Gill in the background. We're going to punch him up in a little bit, but I have a couple more things I want to broach with you before we talk to Mike. Another thing that stood out to me, the third down efficiency. They were over 50. They were over 50%. I believe about 56% on third down. This Philadelphia Eagles team wasn't in any fourth down situations that they had to force at all. The Philadelphia Eagles were able to run a total of 68 plays compared to the Vikings 59. The total yards for the Eagles 486. Total yards for the Vikings 264. It was just two different teams, two different teams playing in two different levels of gravity. You know what I mean? I can't get over how dominant they looked. And again, this was a game that not only did this team need, but Jalen Hurts needed. Everyone kept saying, Jalen Hurts has not beaten a quality opponent. Who has he beaten? Who has he beaten? Well, now he's beating a Minnesota Vikings team that just beat the Green Bay Packers. Let's not let that go unnoticed as well. Granted, it was week 1, but the Green Bay Packers should have won that game last week. There was too many miscues on their part. But at the end of the day, the Minnesota Vikings did their job at home last week, and we did our job at home this week. And listen, if the Vikings beat the Green Bay Packers in week 1, I don't want to jump off a bridge, but can the Philadelphia Eagles run with the Green Bay Packers? We play them later on in the year, and things are still going to take shape. But this Philadelphia Eagles team is extremely, extremely potent when they have everything flowing. And again, they have so many things to clean up, so many penalties on the offensive line. I know Jeff Stoutland's going to get in these guys. Once again, too many illegal man downfield penalties. That has to get cleaned up. That has to get cleaned up because there were so many plays, so many productive plays taken off the board because of that. And another thing that kind of threw me off, his best pass of the night, and then we're going to get Mike Gill up here, his best pass of the night was called back. He was rolling to his left, and you can tell he was feeling it. That's what you call a heat check throw. That was a heat check. He was rolling to his left, and he just threw a dime. I believe it was DeQuez Watkins or Devontae Smith. It was one of those guys.
It was. I gotta remember this play too because it was funny. I'm rewatching the game at like 4:30 in the morning, trying to do some CBS work, and I think it was maybe our commenters can remember this play better than I do. But either way, point aside. Before I get Mike on, the Eagles are winning football games because of Jalen Hurts. How can you hate that?
That's 2 in a row. That's two in a row.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, we're going to go to break quick. We'll get Mike Gill. We'll talk about this game. We'll talk about some other NFC East stuff right after this.